Okay, it looks like we're live. I'm doing a spontaneous live stream because something occurred to me last night that really needs to be addressed. This little video is the Chinese Yuan. The Chinese Yuan is the name of a currency, just like the US dollar. I wanted to point out something. The Chinese Yuan is a belief system, just like the United States dollar is a belief system. Fiat money, in other words, fake money, money that has value by decree, is essentially worthless. It's, it's only by decree from incredible powers that be that, let's say, attribute value to these currencies. And it's been, these belief systems have been around since humanity's existed, finding ways to exchange, do business with each other, whether you're a caveman or a jungle person or a desert person or a city person in 2023, there has to be a medium of exchange. There were some glory days where things like gold and silver uh, were considered the most genuine, authentic forms of real money. Money is defined as something that has a store of value. It is fungible. It can be broken down into little nuggets and chunks, and you go from there as a medium of exchange, and it's acceptable across many, many environments. Gold is the ultimate. Silver is secondary and actually a lot more, let's say, operationally effective. However, it's very inconvenient for the powers that be to have genuine, honest money, as the world has found out since 1913, when the United States Federal Reserve was instituted and fiat money was spread like manure across the United States and eventually across the rest of the world through American hegemony, to the point where we have it today, where the United States is still the default currency for the whole planet. It is a baseline from which everything else is measured. However, the fraud, deception, lies, betrayal, theft is reaching the end of its credibility. The US dollar is losing credibility. Let's go back to the beginning. I believe that money in this sense is a belief system. If people lose their belief that this thing called the United States dollar has any value, then the value of that dollar goes like this. And you can see that across the whole world today, right now. The US dollar is in very deep distress. And some people are calling it the end of the United States dollar as the world reserve currency, the end of United States hegemony, because without going into long lectures about how it all works, the US dollar was essentially weaponized, in particular from 1913, but there are historical chapters where the first orgy of debt was 1913 to 1929. They called it the Roaring Twenties. And that's when the United States gorged on the belief system that the United States dollar, according to the Federal Reserve, it has just infinite value. And so with suitable interest rates and suitable printing of money, issuance of currency, issuance of fake money, it's not gold, it's just, they tell you it's backed by gold. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. There's a big difference between an ounce of gold and an ounce of paper. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to here is the belief system is so deeply entrenched in world culture, and it was propagated very effectively by the United States government, the United States Federal Reserve, the central banks, and everything that they do, to the point where this belief system is unquestionable, except today it is actually falling apart and the belief system is collapsing. There are plenty of other currencies that had belief systems and then they collapsed because it was discovered that the belief in the certain currency was not credible or not worthy of the currency was not worthy of the belief of the citizens. Uh, Venezuela, Turkey, and many other countries in the last 120 years have gone bankrupt and belly up from trying to issue and manipulate their own currencies without fully understanding what they're doing, and they end up basically in a massive debt trap of their own making because they cannot resist the urge to basically print money. It's confetti. It's expand the fraud. So anyway, here we are today, 2023, and there are massive tectonic global shifts, irreversible, happening across Earth. I wrote about it in my book. The actual initial crack uh, fracture that came to full attention was January 2020. There's no going back. Now we have massive fault lines that are rupturing across planet Earth. And one of the biggest, most important ones is the global financial system. And I've talked about it many times. So, as the United States dollar implodes, and because of multiple reasons like the Emergency Powers Act that allowed the United States federal government to print astronomical trillions and trillions of dollars in the last 3 years that didn't exist for the 120 years beforehand, to put us in a massive debt trap, a massive sinkhole of debt. And as the world reserve currency, we have the privilege of dumping all that debt across the rest of the world when they buy our so-called treasuries, our bonds, our supposedly highly secure bonds. It's all a charade. It's all a massive scam optical illusion. And it's falling apart because that's how nature works. Eventually, uh, the truth will prevail, the truth will be revealed. And it's just simple physics. As America expands its own money supply and spreads the debt across the earth and expecting everyone else to buy it up, people get sick of it because they're starting to realize this debt will never get repaid. And so a lot of people are basically starting to dump their dollars. Not only U.S. citizens dumping their dollars, pulling them out of big and small and medium-sized American banks, but whole countries are starting to dump the dollar, dump their dollars, especially the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But the BRICS agglomeration of countries is expanding rapidly. They're already up to about 30 other countries who are basically saying, you know what, screw this. We're going to jump into an alternative parallel world of new, fresh, real money where everything is sane and we don't have to put up with the American dollar. And guess what they're going to opt for? Wink, wink. I said it in the title of the video. Okay, I'll just tell you. It's the Chinese yuan. So why on earth would 7.5, 8 billion people start to the US dollar for the Chinese yuan? Because the Chinese yuan is just a mythological belief system, just like the US dollar. The Chinese yuan and their currency is modeled directly on everything the Chinese learned about how to create a fiat currency and dupe your whole population in China, which is 1.4 billion. And it's worked very effectively. In case you're not aware, the internal economy of China is imploding in its own version, just like America. In some ways, it's a lot worse because they're very heavily export dependent. Anyway, so what we have going on today, right now, with these tectonic shifts across planet Earth is that the gossip and the scandals and everything about the United States and all the corruption and the implosion of the banks, all these banks going bankrupt and collapsing. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Run, 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 run. Take your money out of the banks. Well, where are we going to put it? Let's buy gold. Let's buy silver. Let's buy real estate. Let's buy hard assets. Buy, buy, buy your own oil well. Buy your own apartment building and rent it out to people who need shelter. I'm talking about hard assets, but the reality is a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people are not, let's say, financially savvy, and they are desperate or clueless, so they don't know what to do. And so what's happening is a natural migration, an implosion of one belief system as the explosion of an alternative belief system is being attempted by another entity called China. So China has a massive digital printing press, just like the United States. Whatever America does, China does. It's a blueprint copy. China does that in order to maintain parity between the Chinese yuan and the American dollar. So, and it's of course, it's a manipulation. It's nothing to do with real market, free market forces. So you get very, very distorted belief systems that are seeded and planted and propagated and that sprout. So what we have today is a new belief system that is being propagated across planet Earth. It's called the Chinese yuan, and anyone and everyone who decides to believe in it believes that it has immense value, at least the equivalent of the American dollar, if not more, because the president of the Chinese population has decreed, just simple by decree, that the Chinese yuan is now going to be the #1 global currency, and we're going to prove it. And that's exactly what is happening right now. It's a massive charade. It's just a massive psyops, a massive brainwashing scam operation, because everyone else who's got screwed over by the US dollar hegemony is saying enough is enough. And so, in a very sort of naive manner, they're swapping one delusional belief system for another delusional belief system. Can you see a problem here? Okay, so long as all these other nations decide and believe that the Chinese yuan is worthy and deserving of credibility, then they will jump on board this new alternative belief system. Why not? America got away with it for over 100 years, and we're still doing it today. In fact, right now, the United States federal banking elites are trying to figure out how to stretch our scam operation for at least another year in order to give themselves time to figure out what the bleep are they going to do to get out of the mess that they are in. In other words, they're trying to stop an avalanche of implosions. How do you do that? Have you ever seen an avalanche? I have. They're trying to stop a volcano. They're trying to stop a hurricane. They're trying to stop a tsunami. You can't stop nature. The nature of this fraud is that it will collapse, and it is collapsing right in front of our very eyes. And so American citizens are starting to think like, whoa, what are they going to do? So you get this big surgence of preppers, hoarding, stashing food, self-defense tools, armories, bunkers, safe havens, safe communities, hard assets. And they are coalescing into different groups. Excuse me. A lot of people in America are utterly clueless, and they will end up as roadkill, financial roadkill. And that will look effectively like homelessness, credit card debt explosions, business debt explosions, mortgage explosions, college loan explosions, car payment explosions. All of it is based on debt. The whole American economy is based on debt, not wealth, not abundance. It's based on debt. And they can't take the debt any further. It's just like just imagine you had a wallet full of 10 credit cards and they're all maxed out. And you don't have any other alternative way of living or thinking or believing. That's the only thing that you know. And then it all comes to a grinding halt because simple nature and simple math eventually says enough is enough. All the creditors basically say, no more, no more. You have to remember that the American banking system and the American banks are highly fraudulent themselves in their own way because all they do is issue fiat currency to you in the form of a debt. You repay it in the form of your sweat equity. Then they take that sweat equity, real value, and then they go speculate and gamble. Half the time they lose. In fact, a lot of the time they lose and fail. Look what happened to SVB and Silvergate and First Republic. Those are just tiny, tiny examples. It goes all the way to the top, okay? Uh, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, New York Mellon, uh, all the big, big, big ones. And it's going to even go to the BlackRocks and the Vanguards and the Fidelities and the State Streets and all those folks. It's kind of an inevitable implosion. Anyway, so this is happening right now. So the point I wanted to get to is that China is basically copycatting the United States. The boss of China is basically saying, you know what, they got away with it for 130 years. We might as well do it. Nothing to stop us. There's nothing to stop us, nothing to question us. No one has questioned the value and the true value of the yuan. It's just another fake fiat currency that has value by decree, which means it's utterly worthless unless you believe in it. The very first sentence of my book is, money is what we believe it to be. So anyway, I want to get to that point. So China is basically doing a copycat behavior of what America has been doing since the end of World War II, 1946. Hello, Diana. Nice to see you. And it's called American hegemony. It's basically trying to grow and spread the American empire all over the world like jam and butter, okay? For the benefit of the United States by telling all the other countries that it's actually going to be really great for you. So the classic American hegemony model is like knock, 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 knock. Hello, this is America. I'm the Secretary of State, and I've got a bunch of folks here with me from Goodyear Tire, from blah, blah construction, Caterpillar construction, blah, blah oil and gas. What would you like to do? Dear Mr. President of tiny developing country, we know that you're struggling, and we know that you look at America and you'd like to have everything that we have. Well, guess what? We can make that happen for you. You just sign this agreement. We will lend you, in other words, put you in a deep debt hole of millions and millions of dollars. Okay? We'll lend it to you because we love you, we trust you, and we want everything that you have. And then you can put it in your coffers for your country. And we know secretly in the background that you are going to take a big chunk of that, put it in your own pocket, and put it in your cousins, aunts, uncles, niece, and nephews' pockets as you set up Department of this, Department of Water, Department of Hurricanes, Department of Social Unrest. They all need leaders, and so that's going to be all your friends and family. So you can take all that, like just give yourselves 10, 15, 20% of the money, okay? We just won't talk about it, okay? That's our little favor to you. Now, as soon as you sign the paper, we're going to start sending over our ships and tankers full of construction stuff. We're going to build ports, airports, railways, cities, highways, infrastructure, oil and gas development, gold mining, lithium, everything you've always dreamed of. And the president of that place goes, oh, wow, this is just incredible. So America comes and spreads it all around like butter. And of course, the country does not even have a remote chance of servicing the debt. So America says, You know what? According to the agreement, I don't know if you read the tiny print at the bottom, like if you can't pay the debt, then we have to, you know, basically repo. We do a repo on you and your whole freaking country. Sorry. And so what happens is perfectly viable little places end up financially destitute in a debt trap. End of story. Repeat, 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 repeat. That equals American hegemony across the world. But a lot of places are sick of it because they've started to figure out this is a trap. There are secondary traps, okay, also funded and operated by the United States. One is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the other one is the World Bank. They basically do the same thing. It's just another arm, extension, brand name of American hegemony. And that whole business model is collapsing because the rest of the world is basically saying enough is enough. And so China comes in and says, guess what, everybody? We've got this new program. It's called Belt and Road Initiative. We're going to spread the love all over. We're going to build highways, trains, train tracks, ports, everything you can imagine. Okay, just sign this paperwork, blah, 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 blah. We'll send you billions and billions of yuan. Okay, can you see the story is just a repeat of the American scam operation? And of course, places like Honduras, they're buying it up. There's places all over the country that are already deep, deep in the hole of the debt trap. China. And they believe in the Chinese yuan and everything's going to be great. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not going to have a happy ending. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Everybody knows what's happening with the Chinese debt trap diplomacy, with the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. They learned that business model from the United States, and it's a simple, direct knockoff replica, just like they make knockoff replicas of Omega watches and Nike sneakers and all of that stuff. It's no different. It's just intellectual property repurposed, remodeled, and rebranded. Okay? So the point I was trying to get at with this video is that I haven't seen this storyline presented anywhere. But I think people need to be aware that the fracture and the global restructuring that we're witnessing is inevitable. It will happen. But at this moment in time, it's fraud being replaced by fraud. Okay? Fake money, fiat money being replaced by another fake money, fiat money belief system called the Yuan. That's the goal of the Chinese president. And so far, he's getting away with it because most of the people who are signing on to Belt and Road and the Yuan and the BRICS, at this point, they're more than happy to believe in Mr. Ping himself and say, "Uck you to Joe and the U.S. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, and basically Uncle Joe as a team. They have lost all credibility across the global banking system." So guess what? It's just going, it's deflating. The United States dollar is going like this. Inflation is going like this. That is a perfect recipe for inevitable poverty for the American masses. Okay? Just wanted to point it out. So we're swapping one scam for another scam. I'm dealing with a situation right now regarding old cars, and what do you do? And we talked to a deeply trusted mechanic and some insurance companies, and eventually the decision was made, you've got an old car, okay? It's as good as you believe it to be, and it has a certain market value, and so on and so on. But if you're so sick of it because it's got this problem, this one, and this, and all these problems, and you decide to cash out on it and get another car without taking on any increased debt or tapping into any savings or other, you're essentially just going to swap one bag of problems for another bag of problems. Do you really want to do that? Like, what's the point? So the decision was made to stick with the box of problems that you have already and make the best of it. Okay? It's sometimes tricky because in the world of, social media and marketing, the concept of wealth is typically measured in like how big is your house, how new and nice is your car, uh, how much money do you have in the bank, how much currency do you have stashed? Is it in a bank? Are you going to lose it all? Anyway, all these concepts are coming unglued at the moment. What is money? Okay, so I've just been blabbering for 25 minutes, but I want to go on to a couple of quick things before I end this. China is propagating debt trap diplomacy. Their version is called the Belt and Road Initiative. The business model is identical to the American debt trap diplomacy over the last 70 years or so. Right now, we have Pluto 0 degrees Aquarius, and tomorrow we've got the moon 0 degrees Leo. Those are very powerful aspects that just happen to sit on extremely sensitive astrological aspects for the United States and for China. I'm not going to go into detail because that's whole other videos. I've done a bunch of stuff on that. But the point is that you've got these two polarities happening simultaneously. Sun opposite moon, the two lights in our solar system, sun and moon. And the Leo Aquarius axis has different characteristics, very, very different for China than it does for the United States. But either way, the polarity is heavily, heavily lit up across planet Earth right now. Unless you're living under a rock, it's impossible to be unaware of the massive tectonic plates that are shifting across Earth. Look at Pluto on the cusp into Aquarius. We're just getting a tiny glimpse of the implosions that are happening at the top of the global elite systems that have been indulged for the last 150 years or so. That's all coming unglued. And the elites of the elites of the elites are doing everything they can to hold on to all their power, all their money, and all their control. And they're acting out of desperation. That's Pluto 29.5 degrees Capricorn. We're going back to that later this year. So, timestamps. The whole of this year is marked by the cusp of Pluto and Capricorn Aquarius cusps, okay? Uh, global power elites and extreme distortions in economy versus a network leveling of economy and wealth and money across let's say, a decentralized system. So the world of cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance is going to start to grow whether you like it or not, whether anybody tries to ban it or not. It's still very, very new, but it's been germinating for years now, but it's going to come into full blossom over the next 20 years. You might want to think about studying some of that stuff. Back to some more details. Please mark your calendars now. Okay, we've got the eclipse coming up. It's a weird one. Aries. It's at the 29-degree mark at the very end of April, Aries season. 20th of April, Aries sun, Aries moon. And okay, I'm thinking about that in terms of energy of sovereignty, sovereign selves. People are waking up. Wait, whoa, what about me? I don't want to be a victim of banking global fraud. And then 2 weeks later, you've got the eclipse. This is exactly right on the global financial system, okay? You know what eclipses do. They eclipse out obsolete things. And the evolutionary gateway allows for the new versions of life in the world and everything to take form, take shape. There's no going back. So the 5th of May, we have Sun in Taurus and Moon in Scorpio sitting on the global financial axis. There's going to be massive cataclysmic implosions of some kind. What's that going to look like? Perhaps be a further implosion of the US dollar, the US banking system. Perhaps it will be an emergence of more and more momentum for the Chinese yuan. I don't know the exact details, but I can tell you the eclipse is coming, okay? There's the before, the during, and the after. So you might want to put on your financial seat belts, okay? Now, advance notice, there is another hypercritical eclipse on the global financial system. We're looking far ahead. It's the 28th of October, okay? That's going to be like an action replay in reverse for the global financial system. The sun will be in Scorpio. That represents the global system of other people's money. That's all the big banks, the Black Rocks, the Vanguards, your savings, your insurance, your retirement, all of that. That's going to be under extreme jeopardy as the moon traverses Taurus on that eclipse. Just giving you a heads up. You need to prepare. Do whatever you got to do. I'm not going to tell you how to arrange your finances. Well, I'm just telling you 2023 is major upheavals, shake-up. Think of Uranus, okay? The planet of destabilization, shock, awe, wonder, radical new emergence of intelligence. All these things are happening simultaneously. And Uranus won't be back there for another 84 years, but we've got another couple of years of Uranus in Taurus. So you can plan for financial, massive destabilizations over the next couple of years at least. The way I see it, I'm just giving you my opinion, is that the United States dollar will act out of desperation. They will start propagating the Fed Now system. Research that if you want to. And that will be their attempt to introduce CBDC, central bank digital currency. It's essentially the federal government, the Federal Reserve, and the U.S. Treasury last desperate attempt to take absolute 100% control, tyrannical imprisonment of you if you are an American citizen. Okay? Those are whole other videos. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube about the horrific implications of CBDCs and FedNow. Okay? Research it. If that doesn't make you poop your pants, I don't know what does. I'm doing everything I can, but I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up, okay? Okay, that's all. I just wanted to share that. It feels like to me like it's an emergency video. Okay. If you want any personal help, you know where to get to me, terraillumination.com, okay? Thank you very much. I got to close this video now. Here we go. Yes, I'm sure I want to stop the stream.